Total pandemonium erupted at the Paris Olympics yesterday when Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, was caught on camera aggressively forcing young children to curtsy before a visibly uncomfortable Snoop Dogg. What began as a celebratory field trip for an American elementary school class to meet the iconic rapper quickly devolved into an internationally criticized hostage situation, leaving the drop-it like its hot star deeply shaken by the former royal's increasingly unhinged behavior. One minute I'm just cheerily waving and snapping some selfies with these cute kids hyped to meet old Uncle Snoop before my choreographed shoot, the next this woman is hovering over them barking wild orders like some British Darth Vader, recalled the legendary West Coast rhymer while still appearing rattled. Out of nowhere, she swoops in blocking me from the youngsters shouting, "Stop. You mustn't sully His Royal Highness with your untrained stoggies and stupid glances. The whole lot of you shall garb fashionable curtsies post-haste before being allowed communion." According to multiple event staffers and Olympic media personnel stationed along the Champ de Mars Parkway in front of the Eiffel Tower, the trouble began almost immediately upon Snoop's arrival. Surrounded by typical fanfare including a security team, English teacher chaperones, and a small production crew arranging logistics for later in the day, the international icon still paused repeatedly to warmly interact with the titular class of starstruck fourth graders assembled on the plaza grounds to welcome him. And by all accounts, the beloved icon was in his usual laid-back and magnanimous element as he prepared to film segments related to his creative involvement in the closing ceremonies. However, virtually every eyewitness has corroborated that it wasn't long before a wholly disruptive force inserted itself into the heart of the joyous scene as Meghan Markle came barreling towards the proceedings donning an ornate blue military dress costume, complete with a red feather arm sash, decorative saber, and excessively ornate bicorn cap. Shockingly unconcerned with the presence of hundreds of perplexed Olympics personnel and media members documenting the Model UN student meet and greet sponsored by the State Department, the embattled Duchess is then said to have forcibly cleared a perimeter around the trembling children through a combination of shoving bystanders aside and swinging her unsheathed saber within inches of those who resisted. "I'm just stuffing back a mouthful of Rice Krispie treat and doubled over wheezing to Harry from her sudden windmill, marine mom aerobic routine, when she finally corners all the kids like some human Warsaw Ghetto," described Marcia Pruitt, a fourth-grade chaperone at the scene. "This crazy lady literally racket kicks away their teacher before screeching, 'Who among you untrained commoners has prepared this clueless regiment for decorum reviewing Royals of Sussex Station? This donkey-brained lumpen embarrassment of independence revolutionizers shall keep no audience until curtsies are rendered regardless of gendered surreality.'" Once Markle managed to forcibly position the trembling young students in a semi-orderly formation before Snoop, every staffer and attendee in the vicinity has verified that she immediately began aggressively hectoring them to drop into deep curtsies focused directly on the horrified rapper. And as her shrillness only intensified towards forcibly enacting such humiliation rituals, numerous bystanders have attested to the kids visibly freezing in panicked silence and bewilderment. All these poor babies are just clutching each other afraid to move or speak while this crazy woman in a Halloween general outfit starts demon screeching about how they shall not dishonor Duke Doggy Dog's honorable blood insignia dandled before their swinish infidel presences and worse. Pruitt emotionally recounted. At one point, when a little girl finally opened her mouth to ask what was happening, this Meghan psychopath just whirls around shrieking, "Do not address His Serene Highness in an audience unbidden, unless curtsy supplication lingers ungiven you pompous warbler of solipsistic American utterances." It was like some perverted nightmare out of Handmaid's Tale. As Meghan Markle's abusive demands for absolute deference from the cowering elementary students only grew more bombastic and unrelenting, countless eyewitnesses have detailed the surreal tableau of the famous rapper himself seemingly paralyzed in stunned dismay. According to various students and staffers who remained closest throughout the unfolding debacle, Snoop appeared so utterly flabbergasted by the unexpected hostage situation unfurling before him, the internationally beloved rap legend was rendered temporarily speechless for several excruciating minutes while the traumatizing reign of terror continued unabated. Our team had spent weeks perfectly orchestrating every little detail and interaction down to the tiniest detail just to ensure all those starstruck youngsters from inner-city Detroit could experience an enriching and motivational cultural exchange with one of their most iconic hip-hop heroes, lamented Scott Richardson, a State Department events producer overseeing the program. Next thing you know, this one demented foreign aristocrat hijacks the entire proceedings like an ISIS maniac shaking down a Chuck E. Cheese ball pit over her bizarre archaic debutante demands. Now Snoop's supposed to continue being a smiling role model after that kind of grotesque child abuse and minstrel show servility theater got normalized into our program? It was the most obscene example of white privilege I've ever had shoved down my throat. With the disturbing vista of an increasingly irate Markle looming over kneeling kids like a prison guard handling recalcitrant inmates, even Snoop Dogg's typically impenetrable cool ultimately could not withstand the pressure. At approximately the 15-minute mark, according to multiple witnesses, the 17-time Grammy nominee could finally be seen removing his custom-braided hairpiece and audibly asking the petulant Duchess, for real though, you need to get checking yourself before you wreck yourself all up on these childhood code violations or whatnot? While the consummate performer's plea for restraint and common human decency initially appeared to briefly give Meghan Markle pause, any hope was fleeting. Within seconds, the former cable TV starlet began berating the legendary artist about his indecorous pandering towards such a vassalized aggregation of illegal boat souls soon processed out by the avenging fury underpersons we've queened unto this century. Various audience members have claimed the disgraced royal's incomprehensible fusillade of racist vitriol against the children then only intensified into an even more disturbing diatribe of spittle-laced anti-gravity hieroglyphs disguised as cacophonous language attacks targeting anyone in sight. Next thing you know, this wackadoo is just unleashing some real audacious Siscore scream fit with her spit literally nuclear-tailing each frothy consonant, exclaimed Richardson, self-identifying as an African-American himself while seemingly scarred from the experience. I'm talking zero chill left in her neurotically misfiring synapse-censoring all 8 billion how markless Loa AI Ritko Voltgrids remain sky-orbing your shadow-mitted actual null-wave contingencies into a singularity absorption mid-warping our hero cultural apotheonomics before this genocidally dias-vamped crash overwritten firmadeath. As accounts began surfacing of ogreish Markle instructing the distraught children that the only path for atonement was to initiate complex royal reverence rituals from both genders, nearly all witness testimonies have overwhelmingly agreed the situation had spiraled into profoundly disturbing territory. With the Olympics' biggest rap headliner looking on paralyzed with horror, Meghan Markle's malicious demands for small children to perform arcane courtly curtsy practices ultimately reached a point requiring intervention from authorities. For an entire hour, the Duchess's rampage of verbal abuse and physical intimidation tactics persisted nearly unabated along the Grand Paris Plaza outside France's most iconic monuments. At first those few of us special details chose to monitor this unknown biohazard from a distance, hoping de-escalation priorities might yet emerge from verbal commons posed to the pretender, explained Lieutenant Marcus Baddeley, an anti-terror squad leader and among the first armed responders finally summoned to neutralize the untenable situation. However, once Le Sujet commenced standardized heel before crown positional cortege kowtowing instruction metrics targeted towards les enfants, immediate sterilized engagement authorization cleared with no opposition. Our experiencers simply could not tolerate this ceremonious breach engineered by Caucasian alienist menaces perpetrating towards our innocent population subgroups. Only after multiple long minutes of fruitless negotiation attempts did Lieutenant Baddeley's heavily armed tactical team ultimately mobilize into using non-lethal munitions to seize Meghan Markle into custody. Utilizing a combination of flashbang disorientation devices and concentrated fire from beanbag launchers and sound cannons, it appears the deranged Duchess was successfully neutralized shortly before issuing brazen instructions for the students to commence deep implied pivots once deferentially floorward. Within minutes, the wailing aristocrat was transported under heavy guard to secure medical detention while dozens of paramedics rushed to provide stabilization and counseling services for the traumatized children. Man, you just hate seeing young souls get their child minds destabilized by rabbit hole hate cult reprogramming like this, for real, Snoop somberly reflected once responders gained command of the scene. These were supposed to be the new student ambassadors helping unite worlds around positive upbringings following all this pandemic plight baggage they didn't write. Yet overnight they got violated harder than anything in my old death row vault bust-downs by some pilled-out princess shapeshifter forcing Shanclaka Tropicon lower body binds off the outer hellmouths. For many within earshot, it appeared to take several moments before Snoop could regain his full composure. Once he did, the legendary rapper made a point of walking over to individually embrace each of the bewildered kids himself with heartfelt encouragement. While most younger students simply clung to their hero weeping, several older ones inquired about the deeply disturbed nature of Markle's violent actions. "Look, babies, I don't know what kind of Queen Hagrid dopesteron parasite contaminated her Chromosapien perfuckery, but you gotta keep staying true to yourselves no matter what dark archon forces try spores mossing y'all away from inner truth ways," Snoop counseled the youth with an impassioned candor few had ever witnessed. "Never let nobody try and recolonize a free kid's rainbow afro-kaleidoscope to trip bowing and curtsying upside down towards some fake kingdom voguing they entitled mansions. Inside each heart garden we all get hooked up with genobonds enough to keep flower standing tall, not obeisant soil. Them's the ripple real realities to always keep stealin' forward in." In a particularly poignant moment captured by dozens of cameras and photographers, the iconic rapper then punctuated his impromptu pep talk by removing his signature accessory, a chalice-shaped diamond-encrusted grand piece loaded with his own proprietary cannabis strain dubbed Snoop's Metasci. Despite some initial reticence from staffers attempting to rein in the potentially ill-advised for children proceedings, the legendary MC brushed them off with a hand gesture before crouching in front of the assembled kids and ceremoniously igniting the elaborately crafted pipe with a jet flame from his purple lighter.